Good evening, friends of the Festival of Tibet. Thank you very much for tuning into tonight's program, which is part of the 13th Festival of Tibet, which I'm here tonight with my dear friend Tenzin Shogul, who is the founder and the organizer of the Festival of Tibet. Tenzin, thank you so much, first of all, for allowing myself and Perfect Potion to be part of the Festival of Tibet.
Thank you, Stella, for having been the core friend and supporter of the Festival of Tibet for the past over many years. We wouldn't have come to this 13th without your support and the Perfect Potion's support. So with much gratitude, like Festival of Tibet is not only about music and art, it's actually about amplifying the stories of Tibet. And so with that in mind, without friends like you, I think I wouldn't have been able to bring it this far, actually. So
I know, I remember those early days. They were quite humble beginnings, but that has always been the type of person you are. You know, I can say with all my heart, yeah, Tenzin is very modest, but he's an internationally acclaimed musician now. But what's most important, with all the fame that has come with your hard work, what's most important is your music. Everything embodies the essence of Tibet. And I think the Festival of Tibet, it does showcase and highlights Tibetan culture. It highlights the challenges that Tibetans in exile and in Tibet are facing. And most important, and this has been probably pivotal for you ever from day one, is that you set up this festival to help raise funds for TCV. Can you tell us a little bit about TCV?
Tibetan Children's Village, TCV in short, is probably the one school that was set up after Tibetans came into exile in 1959. The school was set up in 1960 with 51 kids, exile kids. And it was set up for orphans and semi-orphans and destitutes. And many parents, they couldn't afford to send their kids to school since we were in the limbo of being in exile, the Tibetan diaspora world. And so when my parents passed away, I was one of those destitute kids. Probably wouldn't have came this far without that education from the school. So I actually know how the school works and how, so it's kind of my giving back to the school that made me what I am now. So in a very small way through my arts. So the best way that I know is my music and art. And then I asked all my friends who like my music and also my friends who just like me as a human being. So I asked them to help me out to set up this festival. And then you came on board, and all other artists also every year, each year, all these Australian artists, they come on board. And then basically the festival is initially, for me, is about raising awareness and amplifying the story of Tibet. And then on the side note, which became the part of it, is we were given the opportunity to raise some funds with the festival. And then I thought that would be the best way of raising this fund towards the education of Tibetan kids, who will be telling the stories in the future. If they are only educated in the modern 21st century education, then only we'll be able to bring bring forward the stories of Tibet. So in that regard, I mean, I think I do that in a small way, like I tell stories from my music. And a lot of Tibetans out there are also doing that. And only able to do that through education.
Thank you. You have put together this year an amazing program. And it's interesting, COVID has challenged the way we do things. And I think you were talking, this is like the hybrid format. We have got one live event at the Brisbane Powerhouse, but all the other events are online and they're available for you to watch for free. But please do remember that you can donate, and we really urge you and really appreciate any donation that you can make for any of the events that you watch. Tenzin, what can we look forward to tonight? I am so excited to be interviewing Dr. Tsering. The title of tonight's presentation is Tibetan Medicine for Troubled Times, and I know that you will really enjoy this presentation. But what else can you tell us about some of the program that you've put together this year?
So because of the adversity that we have been facing since last March, because of the COVID, last year we went full online, and this year, as we said, we went for a hybrid format, with one evening being a physical in-person concert, Brisbane Sings for Tibet, and then the online programs will be followed with 10 online programs. Which you can still visit. We have prayer on the wings of the mantra with Deva and Nitin.
That's going to be, that's amazing. And look, I appreciate all the artists that support you, and Deva and Nitin, they're amazing.
Yeah, and they're coming on from actually, you can still go back to the festival Facebook page and watch them. They are coming on. They have come on live straight from Costa Rica. And then we have Tenzin Sundu, the amazing Tibetan activist, tomorrow. He will be intimately speaking about his activism and taking the Tibet movement forward. And also he describes, you have visited Dharamsala. So he describes Dharamsala quite intimately, how it all started back in the 60s. And then we have amazing films about, like they are about Tibetan women, how important the role of Tibetan women have been in this Tibetan movement. And especially Ama Ade, who passed away last year, she has been in how her life has been in the prison for 20 years and came out. So that, and then a very intimate story of His Holiness the Dalai Lama's mother as well. So we have got 2 films, which is very Emmy Award winner.
And these are on this year.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
So Emmy Award winner, Women of Wisdom, two series of that. And then Bringing Tibet Home, you've met the director, Tenzin Tkakchoe.
Yes.
So Bringing Tibet Home will be on, and
that was so emotional.
Yeah.
That was so emotional to watch that.
So we have those, and then we have like some. So I think I've put on together. It took me a while to put the program together. But
tell me. I've met Vandana Shiva once.
Yeah,
she's speaking.
So she's speaking. Yeah, Vandana Shiva is speaking. I think we have asked her to do a 45-minute set.
Wow.
Of talking about the how to protect our earth. And she is probably the one woman marcher who takes on even like Monsanto.
Yes.
Like giants like Monsanto. So she's really up there, kind of. I think that she's kind of like the female Mahatma Gandhi ji, in the activism world.
Yes.
If Gandhi had to reincarnate in a female form, then I think it would be what Dr. Wanda.
Beautiful. Look, Tenzin, once again, thank you so much for putting on such an excellent program. We are very proud to be able to support you. Please, I do hope that you also support the Festival of Tibet through the donations that you can make. Thank you so much, and please, thank you, Tenzin, and we are so looking forward to now. If you've missed some of the shows, I think there is a top, you will be able to go back and watch it. There'll be a short period from the time that the official program finishes. How many days, Tenzin?
Five more days after the official period finishes on 4th of May. So we'll keep all of the programs for 5 more days.
So you can go, we can go back and watch a program again and again if we liked it that much.
Yeah, and then we have created a donation page
Yes.
on Chuff account. So that donation page is actually on festivalofTibet.com.au. And then every time when there's a program, that donation page will be also sent as a link on your chat lines.
Thank you, Tenzin, and thank you so much for your support. Please enjoy the interview that I will be doing with Dr. Tsering now, Tibetan Medicine for Troubled Times. Thank you. The traditional healing practices are a very important part of any culture. Today, I'm very, very honored to introduce you to Dr. Tsering Tkakchoe Drungtso. Dr. Tsering is an internationally renowned teacher of Tibetan medicine, and he has traveled throughout the world teaching Tibetan medicine. He is the author of many books. Many years ago, I think it was in 2010, I had the honor to meet Dr. Tsering when he came to Brisbane to support the Festival of Tibet. I was gifted with a beautiful book, one of the books that he's written, Basic Concepts of Tibetan Medicine. In this interview today, I'm fascinated and curious to learn more about Tibetan medicine, as I'm sure you all are. So it is an honor to welcome Dr. Tsering. Welcome, Dr. Tsering.
Very good afternoon and many greetings from Dharamsala. It's a great pleasure to be part of Tibet Festival 2021. Thank you for your introduction.
Dr. Tsering, I've just got a list of some of the books that you've written. Basic Concepts of Tibetan Medicine, A Guide to Understanding Tibetan Medical Science, Tibetan Medicine, the Healing Science of Tibet. You've written the Tibetan English Dictionary of Tibetan Medicine and Astrology. There's a book, The Healing Power of Mantra, The Wisdom of Tibetan Healing, and also the Tibetan Book of Massage, Comforting the Mind and the Body. Where do you find the time with everything that you're doing to write?
Yeah, in the past, I have really, what should say, I'm very passionate, and very hardworking to involve in all these writings, and it needs times because I sweat in order to bring these books,
Yes, thank you. Excellent. Look, as you know, this interview is part of the Festival of Tibet. And Tenzin Shogul, the founder and organizer of the Festival of Tibet, all the funds that are raised through your donations go towards TCV, the Tibetan's Children's Village, which is established in Dharamsala. It was established, I think, in 1960 by Ama Jetsun Pema, the youngest sister of His Holiness. Dr. Tsering, I understand that you were a student of TCV. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely, exactly. I'm part of the TCV, and like my friend Tenzin Shogul, we are the products of TCV, and we are really proud of it.
From so many of my Tibetan friends that I've met, they're all students of TCV. And it plays a very important role. The education for TCV, is it from elementary school all the way up to high school, the senior high school? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's true. Because actually, you see, TCV started with just only 51 students from the road campsite, by the elder sister of His Holiness Tsering Tkakchoe. And later on, Ahmad Jazim Pamela took part of it, and now it grown into a very big educational organization in Tibetan exile. And TCV produced several thousands of Tibetan students, children, and they are now working very well around the globe.
And it's fantastic because I understand the importance of TCV is so important in maintaining and keeping Tibetan culture, Tibetan language alive. And part of keeping that Tibetan culture alive, a very important part of that is the Tibetan healing practices. What was it that inspired you to take a career into medicine?
Yeah, you see, because as a Tibetan, actually, we have several responsibilities that we need to perform. Because on the one hand, because we are trying our best under the guidance and leadership of His Holiness the Dalai Lama to keep our identity and to keep our culture. But on the other hand, because the majority of our Tibetan brothers and sisters are living in Tibet and our culture is in great danger. So for a number of reasons, I came into these professions. Number one is my will and my faith, and also the support from my family. And on the number two, to keep one of our most important culture, that even while we ourselves live in exile, we are able to help in the global arena. And number three, this is the best profession, I believe, for this life and the life after.
Beautiful. Wow. Are there many where did you actually study Tibetan medicine? Is there a teaching faculty, a hospital, a university established in Dharamsala to learn Tibetan medicine?
Yeah, that's true. Because you see, because His Holiness had a long vision, that because he knew that it will take some time to resolve the Tibetan issues. Therefore, under his guidance, because not only the schools are founded, but also the monasteries and the even the medical institutions, what we call the Mensi Kang or Tibetan Medical and Astro Institute, that too was established in 1960s under his guidance, and that is the premier institute in exile where all the medical education is carried out.
Yes, I understand that you work as a professor at the Tibetan Medical and Astrological College. So how many students are at this college, and what is your role at the college nowadays?
Right, you see, because I in the Mensi Kang or Tibetan Medical and Astro College, I was a faculty member and senior lecturer over 12 years. You see, because we have only 3 classes, maybe around 30, 35, or nearly around 100 students, for 5-year course, and then additional 1-year internship course. And during which, because the teaching faculty members, because we have to take subjects, because we divide the subject every year, it's changing on routine basis, not the same subject every year, you see. So whatever given to me, I have to teach accordingly.
Yes, yeah. Can somebody who is who doesn't speak the language, doesn't speak Tibetan, is a Westerner able to enroll in this college to study, or is it exclusively more for those people of Tibetan ethnicity who speak Tibetan?
You see, because the education in this institute, the program has been changed from time to time. You see, it's mainly for the Tibetans, of course, as the medium language is in Tibetan. But since maybe over 10, 15 years, there were some seats for the students from the Himalaya, like from India, Ladakh, Spiti, Nepal, and also for the foreigners lately.
Yes.
And there were some seats also given for the Mongolians, where we have the similar culture and they lost the cultures, in order to revive these, special seats were given to the some from the Russian parts like Kalmykia, Buryat, you see, like that,
Yes.
That is
yes.
one part. Now,
Yes.
in the last 2 years, because the Mensigang, they have one college here in Dharamsala, and here they have started teaching only to the foreigners for the 6-year course, bachelor course on Tibetan medicine.
Yes. Wow.
And the former college that has been shifted to Bengaluru or South India, Bangalore. Now, in that college, they select students every year. You see, now it has been enlarged.
Yes. Yeah. I'm always curious when a foreigner takes on, and I think it's wonderful, but when a foreigner takes on that journey to study traditional healing practice of another culture, is there something lost in translation? Or how can you maintain the integrity of Tibetan medicine when you teach it to a foreigner?
You see, because as far as curriculum in the medical college here is concerned, we don't separate, because we try to keep the entire teachings, not only on the need basis, you see. So therefore, I think because those who have been entered into Mensigang Medical College not miss any single things, We try to impart the entire educations, whether they like certain part or not, not selective.
Good, excellent, very good. I noticed the college is the Tibetan Medical and Astrological College. I'm just very curious to understand that link between astrology and health. Are you kind of like suggesting that the zodiac sign can influence your health?
You see, yes or no in this case. But in general, Tibetan medicine has a strong connection with the astrological practice since from the 5th Dalai Lama's time. Therefore, because here, while we are giving education to the medical students, they have to study astrology as a part of subject. You see, the connection is mainly on the basis of 5 elements. In the astrological, they also talk about the balance of the elements, 5 elements. This is one thing. So in terms of we have medical astrology that we use as a part of diagnostic tool, as well as part of treatment. You see the pulse examination, pulse diagnosis, which is very popular in Tibetan medical practice. Because we have the astrological part of calculations, mother, child, and friend enemy relationship with 5 elements, you see. So that is solely based on the astrological background, the seasonal pulse. Yes. Because we calculate it in a very special ways, which is a little complicated, but that is very important as well. You see, this is one part. Another part is during the formulation, there are certain dates fixed to prepare certain medicines. Let's say the calcite preparation on the full moon day, under the full moonlight, I mean.
Yes.
And then also while we make the strong external therapies, we rely on the astrological guidance of life movements, life soul movement, what we call La in Tibetan, life force movement. Yes. That is very, very important. You see, sometimes we even guide to our friends and whoever asks, because in the Western, they go for surgery.
Yes.
And it is important because if you are going to have a head surgery today, and if the life soul force is here in your head or crown, so this is not the good date go for surgery. it might have a bad result.
Yep.
For instance, like that, So there are many things that we take into consideration that help the practitioners to help better and help the patients by using astrology.
I totally understand that. And I don't want to jump my question, but obviously it's a much more holistic approach. And we're talking about a spiritual element, an energetic element as well. But I have some questions about that later. When I was talking with Tenzin Shogul about conducting this interview, and once again, thank you so much for making your time available for this interview, we were just brainstorming some ideas for the topic. And for some reason, Tenzin Shogul loved the title Tibetan Medicine for Troubled Times. I felt that was pitching it more towards a lot of the challenges that we're having locally, globally, internationally. And I felt, shouldn't we be focusing on all the positive things? But the fact is, there are some troubled times. What do you think are some of the pressing issues in these troubling times, and especially from your perspective as a Tibetan doctor?
Yeah, you see, because now we are living in a very troubled time. Maybe in the last 100 years, we have never experienced such situations. You see, the COVID-19 issues and how we can overcome this problem. This is the most pressing issue. Now, people around the world have the issue of losing jobs, economic or financial issues.
Yeah.
Then the isolations with, social distance, and anxiety, fear, and so much around, you see. And in this situation, of course, it is also a lesson for the entire world. What's wrong with us? Where it is coming from? It's not the issue how we can overcome COVID-19, because many similar diseases might come in the years to come. So these are the things that we need to overthink.
Yeah.
And I think in this respect, it's entirely relating with our environment, how we keep our relation with our environment. Because it's not only the development for the human beings only, because there are other sentient beings. And how we need to keep the ecosystem in good condition. Until and unless we don't address on these root issues, similar problems will come now and then we are going to suffer.
Yes. So do you believe that Tibetan medicine, I'm not saying would have a solution, but how can Tibetan medicine help with some of these issues that you've just spoken about?
You see, in general, the cause of the problems, you see, in Tibetan medicine, the cause and conditions. So one thing is let's say, okay, diet and lifestyle, these are two issues. Diet and lifestyle issues we have. Then seasonal problems, this is the global concern. So there are changes in the seasons, every year, because maybe the polar ice are melting, Himalayas are melting, and how these impact our health. As it is outside, it is inside, as it says in the Kalachakra Tantra. Therefore, it is important that we need to address the global issues with the environment. The water we drink is no longer safe unless we boil or filter. And in the years may come that we need to buy oxygen, you see. Therefore, because we try to educate people in general, and how you need to be friendly with the environment, not only your house, beyond that.
Yes.
And how your food and environment is related.
Exactly.
You see, many of the food what we get nowadays looks very beautiful in the packages, but are very much polluted. You see, and we pay for it. And there are people who are taking only organic food, and they say, okay, why I get sickness? I'm taking very healthy food. But the problem still exists. You know, we don't have any boundary for the airs, polluted airs. You know. Thus, it is important sometimes because people might think it's okay, little narrow-minded, because they are what we call in the another realm, the Naga realm, the Naga spirit. When we dig earth, deforest, pollute water, Naga spirit get angry, therefore send the poisons in the form of virus or bacteria and send these kind of problems. You know, this is what explained in the Tibetan medical text. You know, this may not be understood by this science community at the moment, but this is also part of knowledge which is important, I think, as we don't have any solution for such problems. You know.
Exactly. You did mention before, thank you for that. Yes, we have a big challenge ahead and troubled times ahead. But you did mention a very important issue before as well, and that relates to, and that's occurring globally, anxiety, depression, sense of isolation. And they usually all come under the umbrella of mental health problems. This has been one of the consequences of COVID, but I think that that mental health issue globally existed pre-COVID. What advice do you have for people who find themselves in this, in this crisis situation, suffering from mental health problems?
You see, I will start with the quote from Shanti Deva, the great Indian scholars. You know, he said that if there's something that one can change, then that's very good. You should change it. And if there is something that you cannot change it, then don't worry about it, as you cannot change it, and worrying doesn't make you good. So in the same case, because life is ups and downs that we cannot escape, but how we'll overcome and minimize, you see, this is the caution. Right now, because there is so much focus on the importance of the physical immunity, I should say.
Yes.
And at the same time, it is equally, and in fact, even more important to have the stronger mental immunity. That is the need of our. Because we have so much like pain, fear, anxiety, but it is important to look into the positive side. And during this time, how we can improve our mental immunity by looking positive side of this problem. Because it's good. Okay, families have enough time to sit and share rather than it's boring all the time, you know. How we look on it, you know. Okay, maybe not so many cars or industries are working, air is more clean. We see the blue sky. You see? And now, okay, like that, you know.
Thank you. That's excellent. Thank you so much for that advice. Dr. Tsering, I am also about to launch a book which focuses very much on the psyche and the subtle aspects of aromatherapy. Oh, I must show you. This is a preliminary copy. I'll actually send you a copy as soon as they can become available. It'll be my honor.
Thank you very much.
In it, of course, I talk about the importance of scent and the effect that it has on our psyche and on our spirit. And we cannot ignore the spirit in the healing process. Now, when the word Tibet is often mentioned, I don't know about other people, but I do know many people that I know, the first thing they think of is His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Buddhism. How important is Buddhism and spirituality to the foundation of Tibetan medicine?
You see, this I think very, very important and valid caution, you see. Like the mind-body connection model, I think this is very, very important in the Tibetan medical system. And Buddhism is the foundation, Buddhist philosophy is the foundation and backbone of Tibetan medical philosophy. Let's say, like ignorance, which is the root cause of being born in samsara, six cycle existence. In the same way, in Tibetan medicine, ignorance is the distance cause of all the disorders of mankind. From ignorance, it gives rise to three mental poisons or three afflictive minds, which is the near cause. And from that, the disturbance of the three humors, lung, chiba, and pagan, which is the immediate cause. So that's the connection in somehow.
Yes.
On the other hand, because you see, sometimes in Tibetan medical texts, the disorders are classified into 4 sections. There are 101 diseases that are caused by the disturbance of 5 elements or 3 humors. So that need to be treated by giving medications. There are 101 kind of disorders that are just minor, and it might heal by its own, even without giving medications. And there are 101 kind of disorders caused by evil spirits. So in Tibetan medicine, there are many chapters relating to the evil spirits. And for that, for the disorders of the evil spirits, that is relating with the doubtful mind. And first we need to give rituals and identify which kind of evil spirit has caused the problems. Otherwise, even if we give medicines, medicine doesn't give response. First, we need to identify the spirit and need to give rituals, address the evil spirit, which is the back cause of the problem. And thereafter, we need to give medication. Then there will be proper response. Mm-hmm. And there are 101 kind of disorders caused by karma, karmic disease, what we call. So sometimes there are issues, you see, people have the best hospital, best doctors, and cannot be bring back. Could be related with the karma. So these are some ways of, different ways of looking or dimensions, you see. This one thing. And on the other hand, sometimes, okay, you may have the best doctor, but you don't have the progress with your sickness or problems. Okay, in that case, sometimes, because we might have even the kind of divination or astrological calculation, medical astrology, and you might ask which kind of doctor or hospital is better, and they might guide according to the astrological calculation, and you might go to a doctor who may not be so popular or famous, but if you go there, you might get healed, because we see the karmic relationship between the doctor and patients as well. These are looks a small thing, but sometimes yes, very important for considerations, you see.
Very, so very even, important.
Yeah. So even while we make the formulations, we should keep in our mind, okay, these medicine could be taken by even the bodhisattvas, which we may not know. You see? So we need to be really careful, the cleanness and purity while we make the formulations. And in the same way, while we giving the treatment, we should give with kindness, compassion.
Yeah. So when you have somebody that perhaps is not understanding of the underlying, the underlying spiritual philosophy, can you still have healing occur when somebody is resistant to have any connection with that, with with some of the issues that with some of the things you've spoken about?
Yeah, maybe if I quite understand your caution, you see, because there are cautions coming, because since the background or the philosophy behind Tibetan medical practice or medical system is Buddhism, so does this impact those who have different faiths? I guess it's something like that,
Yeah.
So actually, okay, the philosophy is one part, but in the logic sense, because this can be, because main thing is we need to balance our system, physical system, by using mainly with the medicines coming from 5 elements. This is one part. On the other hand, due to the relationship between the body and mind, because our body is like a house where we live. And if our house condition is not good, so this might impact our health. If it is maybe the rain is coming there, maybe too hot or whatever, it's the same thing, because so therefore it is important that to have a good physical health is important to have a good mental actions and activities. And same thing with when you have a good mental state, so you should have a good physical state, because it's going to and fro.
Excellent. In your book, and you've been referring to a lot of terms which I'm familiar with. My background is in traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture, and I've studied a little bit of Ayurveda. You use a lot of terms that, and read in your book, you discuss techniques in your book, treatment techniques such as moxibustion, cupping, and the use of needles. Can you please explain that relationship between Tibetan medicine and Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine?
All right. You see, most of the traditional medical system, they have the similar foundations or basis. You see, the 5 elements and the 3 energies are used in Ayurveda, Tibetan medicine, Chinese medicine. You see, like in Ayurveda, they talk about the 3 doshas, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. And in the Chinese medicine, they talk about yin, yang, and qi. And in Tibetan medicine, we talk about Long, Chiba, and Pekin. So foundation seems very similar, but there are many things which differ in terms of the philosophical background and the plants grown in the respective countries, and so on and so forth. But the connection, how the Tibetan medicine has been connected with Chinese medicine and in Ayurveda, you see. But this goes to the, let's say, relate to the Chinese medicine from the 7th century, our glorious Tibetan king, 33rd king Songtsen Gampo. He has a Chinese princess, and with her, she brought lots of medical texts and astrology texts that has been translated into Tibet, and that has one part of influence to Tibetan astrology and medicine, one thing. Then, second thing is, in the 8th century, Tibetan King Trisong Denzen, he hosted an international congress in Tibet, during which practitioners from many neighboring countries from China, India, Nepal, Persia, all gathered there. Not only 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 1 week, but several months. Lots of texts from those neighboring countries have been translated into Tibetan language, and that have the second impact. And especially Tibetan medicine is much more closer to the Indian Ayurveda among all, although they are similar even with the Unani or Greek medicine, you see. There are 3 famous medical texts in India, classic, Charaka Samhita, Sushruta Samhita, and Ashtanga Hridayam. And among those three, Ashtanga Hridayam, that has been translated into Tibetan text somewhere in the 8th century. Not 8th century, it's later there. So that text has been practiced better in Tibet than in India. And because since probably the Tibetan kings favored to translate only that text because the author had been called Bhagavata or Love and Power. So being a Buddhist, maybe Tibetan kings favored to translate that into Tibetan. So therefore, there had been very strong influence from that part of text into the Tibetan medical text.
So there has been so much cultural influence to create this uniqueness, unique approach, which we call Tibetan medicine.
Yeah, you see.
Yeah. Sorry, yes.
Yeah, you see it now because to be brief, actually Tibetan medicine is, in fact, now is much more profound than the Ayurveda and Chinese medicine because they took all the best part of those systems and making the existing Tibetan medicine much more richer and more profound.
Yeah, yes.
Therefore, because if you have understanding of one system of medicine, then you can understand the others, in fact, even better with this,
Yes.
you see?
Excellent, I understand. In your biography, you talk about being involved in this translation of the 4 tantras of Tibetan medicine. Are you briefly able to explain what the 4 tantras are and why they're so important to Tibetan medicine?
Okay, you see the 4 tantras, the first compilation of these texts was in 8th century by first Yuthok Yonten Gompo, and the second, now the present day version of these texts has been written by the second Yuthok Yonten Gompo with the same name, with same lineage in the 11th century. So this the main text of Tibetan medical systems used even nowadays because there are 4 parts or 4 volumes, you see. Now when we, of course, Tibetan scholars and experts took lots of good things from the medicine from the neighboring countries. But the way this text has been written is written in a simple poetic form in the verses, in the 4 volumes. And the structure and how it presents is excellent, amazing. Because if somebody study and compare with other traditional medical system textbooks, because no ancient other text could compare with it, the way it brings the structure, the sequence, you see. And the first volume is only 6 chapters. You can imagine. It says if someone is really sharp, brilliant, just studying these 6 chapters is good enough to practice medicine. And okay, I'm really pleased to present among the first chapter in the first volume, what we call Root Tantra or Sagyu. It's just like a map of Tibetan medicine with contents, even the mandala, how the medicine Buddha in the form of presented or taught this teaching. Then the second chapter is just like a more enumeration, like content or classifications, like a subject. Then third chapter is talking about health and disease. And then the 4th chapter is talking about the diagnostic techniques, how to diagnose. And then the 5th chapter is talking about the treatment section, how to treat. And the 6th is the summary again, conclusion, like that.
Yeah, wow.
So it says like Root Tantra is similar to like sun and moon. So which explains the entirety of the text or teaching medical system. Then the second volume, or what we call the explanatory Tantra, that is even more talking about the logics and reasonings, especially about the embryology section. Yeah, which is now fascinating because in the 11th century, we don't have any equipments to see inside, There it explains the wiggly development of the child
Wow.
very clearly. And then like that, then, okay. The third volume, that is, okay. Yes, root tantra, that is actually like, on the other hand, it's like a, seed from which everything grow up. Okay, now I try to brief because otherwise it will go on, And the third volume, that is the biggest volume, what we call the Mangakyo or oral instruction tantra. That is about the treatment section, about the diseases, pathology. And as if an old woman is taken by hand, they talk, explains about the cause and conditions, then the classification of the disorders, treatment by diet, treatment by lifestyle, and treatment by medicines, and treatment by external therapies, so and so forth, which explains greatly, Then the fourth volume, that is what we call Chimaki or subsequent or last tantra. So 27 chapters. So talking about the pulse diagnosis, urine analysis, and all the formulations, medicines, decoctions, pills, medicinal butter, and so on and so forth, and also the panch karmas treatments.
Wow. Very comprehensive. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. So they are pretty much the pillars of learning Tibetan medicine.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Because that is the, because if we are able to study these 4 volumes with 156
Yes.
chapters, really nothing is left almost, because all the logics, reasons, yeah.
So you can learn this in 5 years, or does it take longer?
Yeah, actually, okay. The framework study is 6 years, 5 years
6 years.
theory and 1 year internship, But
Yes.
it keeps on going,
It's a lifetime dedication.
Yeah, lifetime dedication, exactly.
Yeah. Look, I want to understand, like, from what you've just said, like most of the illnesses that people suffer nowadays, we refer to them as lifestyle diseases, autoimmune diseases, diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease, mental health. How relevant is such a traditional healing practice as Tibetan medicine in dealing with these contemporary lifestyle diseases?
You see, like Tibetan medicine has stood the test of time, and since, because it has a history of over 5,000 years and now still valid in this 21st century, because it focused so much on the importance of diet and lifestyle. Rather than the focus on the medication, it focused more on the diet and lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
The importance of boiled water, it says that is the first medicine of mankind. Everyone can afford it. Sometimes we need to pay, So therefore, for many of these lifestyle related present problems, by taking Tibetan medicine, so many people around the globe have been benefited from Tibetan medicine, you see. Therefore, because many times, because I have traveled in the last 20 years in the many European countries and other countries as well, I have patients around the globe. They pay from their own pocket money from the insurance for the modern medicine, but they have to pay for Tibetan medicine because that benefit them better. You see?
Yes. Yeah. So it is still very relevant in terms of the way that we can change our lifestyles. Thank you. Yes. Almost every traditional healing practice makes use of traditional herbs. Are there any unique Tibetan medical herbs that you could introduce us to and some of their benefits?
Okay, so let's say like Cordyceps sinensis. That is, I think, quite familiar around the globe, especially in the Chinese world, you see. But that is, I think, also very expensive nowadays, but that's really good in general for immune boosting, boost the immune system in general, for the kidneys and to improve the potency, what we call sometimes like summer grass and winter worm, yatsa gumbu in Tibetan. This is one thing. So especially some people take it as like a kind of luxury in the home by putting in the alcohols, to keep more potent, you see.
Yes.
This is one time. This is one thing, okay? And another thing is, let's say, even the Myconopsis horridula, blue poppy. So this actually is grown more in the Himalayan mountains, That's really amazing. Not to take as home remedy, but usually it's nowadays, as explained in the Tibetan medical text, it's good for the blood cancers, the research says. Then we have rhodiola. That is also amazing herb for the altitude sickness and for the lung problems. Nowadays we have because of the COVID, it hurt mostly the lung organs, So this is also one of the very good herbs that can be used.
Well, as part of your practice, do you have access to these herbs now living in Dharamsala? Is it easy for you to get access? Yes.
Oh, yeah, because that's very important for the Tibetan medical practitioners. I mean, especially the students, they have to go to mountain to study the plants, their habitat. When I was a lecturer in the Mansikang, so I used to go to the mountains with students for over 1 month. We stay in the mountain with putting tent, we collect the plants, and they have to give tests in the mountain for the identification, you see. So we have good access. And maybe I will add one thing, because nowadays I'm not working in Mansikang. Since 2015, I opened my own clinic and I practice as a private practitioner. This I want to clear out, not working in Mansikang anymore.
Okay, look, so that brings me to another interesting question, and we're seeing this all around the world where traditional remedies are used. There's this balance between the science and the pharmacology. Always, this is the Western mind is always, well, what is the chemistry? What is the pharmacology of this herb? And how does it affect the therapeutics of the herb? I always worry when this happens because science always has a very tunnel, narrow approach. And you tend to lose a lot of the more traditional knowledge that has underpinned the use of these herbs. How do you balance the modern science and the traditional views of the herbs that you've spoken about?
Okay, you see, traditional medicine formulations that have been used in the in many ethnic communities until now with unbroken lineage. This is one thing. On the second hand, the traditional formulations have been the basis of bringing modern new drugs. Number two, let's say in Tibetan medical texts, we have more than 4,000 formulations. And right now we are, because of circumstances and facilities, we are prepared bringing only around nearly 400 medicines only out of 4,000 recipes. Nowadays in the modern medicine, they have to spend huge amount of money to confirm the potency and the 9 harming effects of particular drugs, you see. And still the problems are coming, because you say it is good, very good, but after a few years you may say that's not good. Still is not definite. Therefore, I should say, like, traditional medicine should be given due respect and understood in its own context. Unless you study that system and learn that. And if we, on the other hand, because still there are many diseases where we don't have even treatment. So for this, if we take seriously and give due respect and study those all formulations, we have high opportunity to finding a good solution for these diseases where we don't have cure.
Yes. Thank you. That's very important. Look, I'm just looking at the time and we're running out of time. I could keep talking to you for hours and hours. I know. Thank you so much. It's been so enlightening. If we do want to know a little bit more about Tibetan medicine, do you have how can people get in contact with you? We'll put up on the screen after this, at the end of this presentation, is there a website or contact details where they can get in contact with you? You said you do consultations to people all over the world. Yeah. How can we keep in touch? People keep in touch with you.
Yeah, you see, actually I have my own web page, but usually through my friends and others, they contact me through email or through WhatsApp or Telegram, so that is much more convenient, Actually, I have patients around the globe where they contact me through this, and if they are not able to see me personally, so because there's only the second choice, to have the mail consultations,
Fantastic. So it's okay if we put up your details, your website and the WhatsApp connect, so that people can get in touch with you if they would like to learn more or understand more?
Sure, definitely. That is what I'm for.
That's wonderful.
Welcome.
Look, as you know, I've got to meet you through a dear friend, a colleague that we both know, who's very important. He is probably one of the most incredible musicians that I know. To me, Tenzin Shogil, he just epitomizes, his voice resonates with the Tibetan, with the plight of Tibetans all around the world. And I think he's dearly, dearly loved for his amazing talents. You must have, I would like to finish off our interview by showing a film clip of perhaps one of your favorite songs of Tenzin Shogil. Do you have anyone in particular that you like?
Yeah, because Tenzin has produced so many fantastic songs. I like almost all, because the songs of the Pardo, that with the ancient wisdom, with the modern fusion, that's amazing, you see?
Yes, yeah. So, but there's one particular one that I know, I think you've seen, and it's called Heartstrings.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing, really.
Yeah, in Queensland, Heartstrings has just been nominated for the 2021 Queensland Music Award. He's a finalist out of 4 talented musicians in the category of world music. You've seen the film clip. Why is this one of your favorites?
You see, because I think it gives me my old memory, because Tenzin has recorded this with, I think, over 150 children from Tibetan children's village, They have a very good wife, so much positive energy, you see. And the theme, the mantra is very holy. It's the mantra of Avalokiteshvara or Cheresik, whom we believe His Holiness is the emanation of His Holiness, It's a very peaceful and with great blessings when you listen it, you feel it. And you feel so close to that. That's amazing. I congratulate you.
Thank you. So look, I just would like to remind everybody that you are able to please donate. We thank you very much for watching this interview and the opportunity we have had to learn from Dr. Tsering about Tibetan medicine. So please don't forget to donate, because all the money that you donate will help go support TCV, Tibetan's Children's Village. And it will be, that is the future. Education is the future. Education keeps this TCV keeps the Tibetan culture alive. It keeps institutions like that Dr. Tsering studied at. It gives opportunity for Tibetan children to become doctors, the future doctors of the world, the future, and the future is in the education of our children. So TCV plays a very important part in this, and your donation will be greatly appreciated. So we'd like to finish this interview by firstly thanking Dr. Tsering for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Tuje Che. It's a great pleasure.
And I would like to finish with heartstrings. Thank you so much for watching, please.
Namla labanyamba. Ani kem labanyamdo. Ani goetela. Estevola. Ani dila. Ningan.
you.